What did he just do? Our men and women in uniforms are gonna come home in body bags.
But that's what you guys wanted, right?
White men are programmed to watch suffering and get physically excited, mentally stimulated, emotionally excited.
We have people in Florida with children who do not have to be vaccinated at all, and they are free to mingle with other children and get each other sick as much as possible. We literally just had an unaliving of a child from measles in California. The child was unvaxxed. Now you guys are erasing history, shutting down museums and taking history that you don't like and taking it out of the museums, frightening people for telling the truth because it's not revisionist enough for you. It makes you feel uncomfortable. It makes you look like the bad guy on ideology that you still believe.
Y'all remember when this woman put that big old Trump tattoo on her forehead? Y'all remember that, right? Now Miss Girl is online begging for money.
I came across a powerful video of a Black American queen who is really breaking down things in a way that you don't usually hear. She is speaking on how MAGA voters are facing the reality of what they voted for, and yet somehow they are still not satisfied. She's gonna take you through the mindset of an average MAGA supporter. I want you to really pay attention to what she's saying and other clips that I have put together around this topic. Watch it carefully. I will be back at the end and break it all down with you. Stay tuned.
Joy Reid being let go by MSNBC for pretty much no reason at all definitely happened for a reason, because she is unleashed, unchained, and unbound, and I am here for it. On her podcast, she kind of went on a rant, and you guys have probably heard it because people have been soundbiting it, and it's been going around. If you are following me on the YT, I will have the whole clip at the end of this video. So if you guys want to see it and see what she said, it's about a 7-minute clip. I'll put it at the end of this video. But I not only want to speak about what she said, but I also want to add something that I don't think she mentioned at the end. And I think it is probably one of the biggest things that she was talking about. But let me get into it. So she went kind of on a rant and was like, dude, y'all got everything you want. What are you so angry about? Like, y'all are still some of the angriest people on the right that I have ever seen. Y'all still angry. Y'all still coming after people, still blaming people for your problems. Like, you have every single thing that you want. And she started listing off some things. And I do want to list off a couple of things that I have taken note of, some things that I've done videos of. They got Bone Spurs in office, all of Bone Spurs people, all of their podcast sensations and things like that, and the FBI, not a lick of police work between them, but they're in there. And then they want to criticize the FBI for not doing any police work when it came to Kirk. But I'm like, they've never done any police work. He is completely unqualified for the job, but that's what you guys wanted, right? Like, you guys wanted people who just aligned with your ideology. You didn't care if they were actually qualified for the job. And the people who were qualified for the job happened to not fit into your mold. And so they were DEI hires. And so you got rid of them. You got rid of the gay guy in the FAA, the black people and the women in the Defense Department and in the DOJ. If they did not adhere to your political ideology, in your mind, they were not qualified for that position. So you got what you wanted there. You put one of the most dangerous people ahead of the CDC. And in all of these really crucial departments, not only did they fire with Doge all of the people who were actually qualified for those positions and knew how those agencies worked, but they replaced them with yes people who would just do Bone Spurs' and his administration's bidding. And this is what we have. We have planes falling out of the sky, landing upside down, having engine failures, clipping each other in the middle of the air. We have people in Florida with children who do not have to be vaccinated at all, and they are free to mingle with other children and get each other sick as much as possible. We literally just had an unaliving of a child from measles in California. The child was unvaxxed. Now you guys are erasing history, shutting down museums and taking history that you don't like and taking it out of the museums, frightening people for telling the truth because it's not revisionist enough for you. It makes you feel uncomfortable. It makes you look like the bad guy on ideology that you still believe. And so you want to make everybody think that that ideology is a good thing. So you want to erase history so that people do not understand where you're actually coming from and where you want to go. You've gotten what you want when it comes to removing the quote unquote illegal immigrants from this country, when in actuality, they're just removing anybody with melanated skin that looks foreign to them. And it's okay because the Supreme Court said that they can profile people based on the color of their skin when it comes to immigration. Not understanding that most of our immigrants are white. You have gotten what you wanted when it comes to the economy. You voted for tariffs. You got tariffs. And these tariffs are not only crippling our small businesses, but they are decimating our farmers. And our farmers are no longer getting the subsidies that I so eloquently laid out in one of my last videos. Go check that out, about all the subsidies that Biden had provided during his tenure in office and that Bone Spurs immediately took away. But they got everything they wanted. They owned the libs, which is what they wanted to do. You know, liberal tears and all of that. 7.5% of black people are unemployed. That's what they wanted. It doesn't matter that the overall unemployment has also gone up. But I'll get back to that later. All of these things they said they wanted. All of these things is what they voted for. And when people are down in my comments, that's what they say. Yeah, Bone Spurs is standing on business. And I like everything that he's doing because he X, Y, and Z, nothing that actually puts money in their own pocket. It's just stuff that hurts other people. But I digress. But then Joy Reid in her rant got to the meat of it. She said that the reason why these MAGA, these people on the right who have gotten literally everything that they wanted, are so angry still is because we still don't want them in our spaces. We are not going to capitulate to them and tell them that they did a good job or that they were right about everything. We're still fighting. We're still lifting up our voices. And new voices, like mine, which didn't start until January 20th, are starting to come out. And MAGA doesn't really like that. MAGA thought that if they won and they hurt us bad enough, that we were going to somehow give in and tell them that they were right about everything. That's not how that works. We still don't want you in our spaces. As you cry about not being invited to cookouts or having your family cut you off, there's a reason for that. You're toxic, and we don't want you in our spaces. We also don't want your fake and unheard prayers. I got a lot of that since the Kirk situation, with a lot of people on the right who agree with him, who literally said, I feel like I lost a friend. A lot of people who would listen to his rhetoric and listen to what he said and agree with the things that he would say about women, about the black community, about the trans community, and every other marginalized community. And then get down into my comments and say that they were going to pray for me, as if any God in that book you claim to serve would ever hear your prayer. Your prayer at this point is a curse, and you can keep it to yourself. But I digress. MAGA men, and I mean black MAGA men and white MAGA men, and any MAGA men in between. Liberal women do not want you. Ever. That's another reason why y'all angry. Because for some reason you don't want your own MAGA women like you want liberal women. Maybe it's because it's a challenge? What is that? Ew. Go away. Nobody wants you. And honestly, that is why the black pill is a thing. And if you don't know about the black pill, people have been going down the Nick Fuentes rabbit hole and learning about the black pill. I did not do a video on that, and I might not, because it is absolutely diabolical. But another reason why they're mad, especially the farmers, Bone Spurs had mentioned something about the immigrants taking black jobs. People always wanted to act like they didn't know what a black job meant. Black people knew that the black jobs was the jobs in the field, the jobs in the hospitality, custodian positions, and things like that. Those were the black jobs that Bone Spurs was talking about. Farmers, like 78% of the farmers in Arkansas, thought if they voted for Bone Spurs and he got rid of all of their immigrants, and then they took DEI and affirmative action programs away and fired all of the black people, that black people would just assimilate back into the fields. See, the thing is, you obviously don't know black people very well. I did a video about how white people still think that we are in those concrete rises. They still think that 3% of our population is in poverty. And the ones that they do see in the nice white neighborhoods, we're just one of the good ones that made it. 48% of the black community are middle class, and it's growing, as well as our numbers. So we don't have to get back in our fields. If black people don't have a job and they get fired from their positions like I did at the beginning of this year, losing all of my clients with freelance, then they're just going to find another way. We are extremely creative. We are extremely innovative. We are extremely resilient and determined. And we have decided that not only are we not getting into the streets, we're not getting into the fields. So they're mad about that. But I think there is something else that they are really super mad about that is a little bit more below the surface. They got everything that they wanted. They got the people in the positions. They got the person at the top of the ticket. They got everything they wanted. And they thought, because they were told that they were going to start feeling more relief, that they were going to get rich, have money, be on top. They thought that if they voted for a guy like Bone Spurs and they followed the ideology of a person like Kirk, they would be on top again. They thought that they were going to be invited to the party. And a lot of them right now are figuring out that they've been duped. They were tricked into voting for somebody who is only using them to usurp power. And now they are losing the things in their life. They've lost their families because their families don't want to talk to them. Their farms, in many cases, their homes in some cases. They're out of a job too. They lost those government contracts that they had. So now they are hurting more because prices are going up because of tariffs. I still have that video coming out. And they now don't have a scapegoat because everybody that is in power, making them feel the way that they feel, are the people that they put there. That is why they're angry. It's because they were wrong and they know they were wrong and they don't want to admit that they were wrong. That's the true reason why they're angry. And I'm so here for this.
There's that lady that has been going around TikTok. A bunch of my mutuals have been making posts about it. Who was talking about how, she regretted voting for him for the third time. And the amount of hate that she is getting from the left is just as much, if not more, than the amount of hate that she is getting from the right. What did he just do? Our men and women in uniforms are going to come home in body bags. His board of peace is planning on building 50 plus stadiums in the rubble of Gaza? Innocent Iranians died. Innocent Palestinians are dying every day. I will forgive somebody who voted for him in 2016 and realized their mistake and didn't vote again for him. If you're a three-peater, if you're a two-timer or a three-peater, fuck yourself. You will get no forgiveness from me. This man, he is named more times in those files than everyone else combined. I will never say another word to my mother, my sister, anyone that I know that voted for this man more than once unless I absolutely have to. I work with Trump supporters. I have no choice. If I want to be able to keep my house and pay my bills, I have no choice. You're not sorry enough yet. I don't give a flying if it takes you years to fully deconstruct. I'm happy that you are doing the work. I'm happy that you have finally seen the error of your ways. It's too late. We will be sending boots to the ground. We had, Air Force bases that were struck in retaliatory strikes against what we did in Iran earlier this morning, while everybody was asleep in the U.S. without congressional approval. But of course, you guys don't give a flying fuck about that anyways. You don't care about the law. If you voted for that man more than once after 2016, if you only voted for him for 2016, I'm willing to forgive you if you have realized the error of your ways. If you voted for him more than once, I will never forgive you. People are dying every day because of what you chose to vote for, because of what you chose to protect.
Imagine being so broke, you got to crowdfund regret. Y'all remember when this woman put that big old Trump tattoo on her forehead? Y'all remember that, right? Now Miss Girl is online begging for money. Begging for money. Socialism. So she can get it removed. I thought this was the perfect case study in Trump supporters and what they look like in real time. No money and no backup plan, just lifelong devotion. She loves capitalism, but now she wants to use GoFundMe to help clean up the bad choices that she made on her own. That ain't rugged individualism. That is socialism with a ring light. Honestly, I think Erica Kirk need to step in. I really do. I think she should step in and offer to get this Trump tattoo removed from this woman's forehead, but then in exchange, offer her a Vance tattoo, but she got to get it on her lower back. Yup, so she got to choose. Either keep that big ass Trump tattoo on her forehead or to keep Vance on her lower back as a reminder. Both of them are a bad decision. Either way, she earned it. So no, nobody should be giving her any money to clean up her own mess. Choices were made, girl. So now you need to choose wisely.
See, you see, white MAGA specifically gets so excited over here in the U.S. when immigrant families get kidnapped, killed, put in concentration camps. You see it every time a black man, woman, or child gets murdered by the cops. You saw it with Alex Peretti and Renee Good. And now we're over in Iran. And you see all of these white men cheering, right? And of course we have troops, American troops that have been killed. For what? For no fucking reason. We don't need to be over there. But again, these white MAGA men get so excited about murdering people that are not white, be it in the United States or in different countries across the world. And it's illogical, right? Because they're saying, we will go destabilize countries, murder other people in those countries that aren't white in order to protect our freedom. No, again, we don't need to be over there. We don't need ICE. We need to abolish the cops. Like, it's never ending. White men are never going to beat the allegations as a collective. That all we like to see as a collective of white men is death and destruction. It's primal. It's in our DNA. It's directly tied to our ancestors. It's directly tied to the violence that white people have carried out since the beginning of this country and basically since the beginning of time. White men are programmed to watch suffering and get physically excited, mentally stimulated, emotionally excited about watching the murder of other people. The bloodlust will never be satisfied for white men. They'll watch other white men in the military get fucking murdered. And they'll be like, hell yeah, that's the most honorable thing you can do is die for your country. No, the fuck it's not. The most honorable thing is that you see other people as human beings, recognize their humanity, be empathetic, show love and care in your communities, and not be fucking violent. But that is antithetical to the programming of the white collective. Every single white person right now is either a white supremacist or pro-violence, unless you are actively and loudly against that. And for the majority of the white collective, it lands on so many of you just being a white supremacist and pro-violence, especially white men.
First of all, shout out to all of these creators for putting out this kind of content out there. We need these kinds of content. Whether people agree or not, we need these kinds of conversation. They force people to think a little deeper about what is going on beyond headlines and emotions. Now, let me ask you this question. What did MAGA voters actually voted for? From the perspective that is being expressed in those clips, the argument is that a lot of them voted for policies that would crack down on other groups. Immigrants, minorities, people they felt were taking too much or changing the country too fast. Things like stricter immigration enforcement, reducing programs tied to diversity and inclusion, and putting America First policies at the center. But here is where it gets interesting and complicated. Some of these policies don't just affect targeted groups. They also end up affecting the same people who supported them. And that is why we are seeing many MAGA supporters frustrated online. Take the example of farmers. In many rural parts of the USA, agriculture depends heavily on immigrant labor. That is just a fact. So when immigration enforcement becomes stricter, or when a large number of workers are removed from workforce, it doesn't just affect those workers. It hits farms too. Crops don't get harvested on time, labor shortages increase costs, and in some cases, people lose money, much money. So now you have a situation where policies that were supported for one reason ends up causing consequences that were not expected. And that is not unique to one group, by the way. This happens in politics all the time. People vote based on certain priorities, security, economy, and sometimes the outcomes don't line up exactly how they imagine. We can also say that some of this support was not about economic at all. It was more emotional. Some voters were driven by frustration, fear of change, or feeling like they were losing their place in the society. And whether people agree with it or not, it is something that gets talked about a lot in political discussion, because voting isn't always just about logic. It is also about identity, perception, and personal experience. When the consequences of those decisions start to hit close to home, that is when the reality checks begin. You start seeing people, MAGA voters online, saying, wait, I didn't think it would affect me like this. I regret my vote. I wouldn't have voted for him. And that is where the frustration comes in. Because now it is not just something that is happening to other people. It is happening to them. Their businesses, their costs of living, their day-to-day life. And that's what makes this whole situation powerful to analyze. It shows how important it is to understand policies beyond surface level. Not just what they promise, but what they actually do in real life. I also want to balance something here. It is easy to say, this is all just hatred. But real life is usually layered than that. Some people vote the way they do because of economic anxiety. Some because they genuinely believe that those policies will make things better. But we can't ignore that race and identity have always played a role in American politics. That's part of country's history. And it still influences how people see each other today. And I think that is what a black American woman we saw in the first clip did really well. She didn't just talk about policies. She broke down the mindset of an average MAGA supporter. She showed how some people can support something without really thinking about the long-term impact. And this usually happens when emotions are involved. And that is where the lesson is. Because ignorance is very dangerous. Not just for one group, not only for MAGA supporters, but for everyone. When people don't take time to research, question, and really understand what they are supporting, they can end up voting against their own interests without even realizing it. And this is what happened to many of these MAGA supporters. Now we are seeing many MAGA supporters online, frustrated, complaining, confused. Yet from another perspective, they are experiencing what they voted for. The real takeaway here is not just about MAGA supporters or one political side. It's about accountability and learn from your past mistakes. It's about understanding that every vote has consequences, whether intended or unintended. And once those decisions are made, they don't just affect one group, they ripple across the entire system. Whether you are black, white, Latino, immigrant, citizen, everyone is connected to how the country functions. And if Americans don't start thinking beyond us versus them, we are going to keep seeing the same cycle over and over again. People voting based on emotion, then dealing with outcomes that they didn't expect, and then asking, how did we get here? Please, Americans, do better. Vote after being logical. That was it for today. Let me know what you think about this video. Drop your opinions down in the comment section. Please, if you have enjoyed watching it, click on the like button. And remember to subscribe for more other episodes. Mr. TA signing off. Ciao.